You're watching Morning at NTV.
A very good morning to you this Monday, the last Monday of May, the 5th month of the year 2014, wherever you're watching us from, on air or online. Welcome to Morning at NTV, and I do hope you had a wonderful weekend. It's the start of a new week, a brand new day, a brand new week, a brand new opportunity for you to probably realign your goals. You know, it's already middle of the year and some of us have fallen short of our New Year's resolutions, but hey, we always have a second chance, and some of us are grateful for second, third, fourth and fifth chances. Well, Morning at NTV is here to help you realign your life. We have lots in store for you. We have everyday life, we have the big story, we also have a bit of sport for you coming in later towards the end of the program, not forgetting what is making news in the press with Simon and Joel. Bran unfortunately is not with us today, he's not feeling too well, and we do wish Bran our quick recovery because we miss him here already on the show. Well, Morning at NTV is starting, so let's kick off with our question of the day. Which team has won the UEFA Championships 10 times? Which team has won the UEFA Championships 10 times? And I won't comment on that, but if you're among the first 5 people to give us the correct answer, you stand the chance of winning a beautiful Morning at NTV mug, the mugs you usually see at the rooftop, with which you can enjoy chai, your morning tea, with the best breakfast show in town. We'll continue the show with the news right after this.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
A piece of legislation to regulate acid use and penalize acid attackers will be tabled in Parliament in August this year. The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, revealed this at the Uganda Police Force Centenary celebrations launched earlier yesterday with a half marathon whose proceeds will go towards acid attack survivors. Solomon Seranja has more.
Agony, trauma, and a sense of lost identity seem inadequate when describing the physical and emotional reality of an acid victim. Scarred for life with a disfigured face, Deborah Balinane, a resident of Nansana, is still nursing severe burns from an acid attack in January this year. NTV visited her in hospital where she was admitted after the attack earlier this year, where she narrated her painful ordeal.
The man had a jug, which was in a polythene bag, and the other had nothing on him. I welcomed them, and I asked them where they had come from. They asked me whether this was the residence of, they mentioned my husband's name. I said yes to them, and it was like, yeah, where have you come from?
One of the two men immediately excused himself, only to return and hurl the acid at her.
When I looked at him, I just saw him with a jug, like somebody who is going to pour something on you. So I just tilted my head a bit, and this was acid. So the acid burnt mainly the head, the arm, my neck, just like you can see.
Right after the attack, the two men escaped, although one of them was later arrested and apprehended at Nansana police station. Balinane is just one of the over 400 acid attack victims that have been registered by police, including Pastor Umar Mulinde, who recently returned from Israel after treatment.
But my heart holds no grudge against the people who did this to me. I know that they did not know what they were doing to us.
Although some culprits are apprehended, many survivors feel that justice is not served, considering that the offenders are charged with assault or grievous bodily harm, which requires proof by a doctor in absence of a law on acid use. The need to establish a law on acid use and distribution of acid, as well as the penalty for attackers, was reiterated by Police Chief General Kale Kayihura as the institution launched its centenary celebration during a city marathon.
Importation, storage, use of acid. Ezigena mu laboratories z'amasomero, anybody can just get from there and hold it. I think for different reasons,
the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, who graced the marathon, pledged that the bill on acid use will be on the floor of Parliament by August.
What I can promise is that now I will not wait for the Minister of Justice to bring the bill. I will not even wait for the Minister for Internal Affairs. I'm going to get a group of my members in the House to move the private members' bill. By August, it's very, very urgent. It's very, very urgent.
Acid victims use this platform to call for a death penalty for the perpetrators. The prevalence of acid attacks may be attributed to the availability of the liquid on the local market, which costs between 2,000 to 3,000 per litre. More than 36 million shillings was collected from the marathon, which will go towards the Acid Survivors Association.
Very sad there. Moving on to Ntungamo, more than 100 boda riders exchanged vows with their loved ones at a colourful mass wedding at a cathedral in Chamate. The wedding, organized by the South Ankole Diocese Bishop Nathan Ahimbisiwe, brought business in Ntungamo to a standstill as the riders rode their motorbikes around town with their wives on board.
Chamate Cathedral in Ntungamo district was the center of attention for holding a mass wedding of over 100 people, the majority of former boda riders. A multitude of Christians gathered to witness the riders walk their loved ones down the aisle. The mass wedding was presided over by its brainchild, Bishop Nathan Ahimbisiwe.
They have to be good husbands, good people who can make their families stand properly.
Bishop Ahimbisiwe says he wedded the riders to encourage people get married in church.
As far as people come and they want to wed them, I am telling you, every year we shall be carrying mass weddings.
After the service, the bishop joined the newly wedded riders in cruising around Ntungamo town. The couples later held a colorful mass reception. The church organized and funded the wedding. The bishop urged the less privileged members of society to embrace mass weddings in order to have a blessed union.
I found out that some of them are not wedded and they need wedding, but some of them may not afford it. Others, they have no time for it.
The newly wedded couples hailed the bishop's initiative and promised to live exemplary lives.
namara imyaka 16 umushwere konka ahiba twegisize ibyo bushwere hato bushwere nisha nko tandikire busya.
Two radio journalists in Kampala were recently beaten up by police officers in Luweero district as they reported on the just concluded by-elections. KFM's Herbert Ziwa and Uganda Radio Network's Brian Luaga said they were attacked by the officers despite identifying themselves as journalists. The incidents have put cases of police brutality into sharp focus as the country heads to the 2016 elections. Sheila Nduhuchire reports.
What started out as a great opportunity to report on the Luweero by-election for KFM's Herbert Ziwa turned out to be a terrible experience.
7 police officers came from behind and they were armed with batons and they started hitting indiscriminately.
Herbert was a victim of a brutal assault by police officers last Thursday as he covered the tallying of votes minute by minute at the district headquarters.
Unfortunately, I was one of the people hit on the head. Immediately, I lost my conscience.
In this recording, Ziwa is heard pleading with an unidentified police officer to stop beating him.
Police, you've hit me! You've hit me, please! I'm doing my work, please! Please, you've hit me! Please, look at my head! You've marked my head! You've hit me, please! Work on me, please! You've hurt me, I'm a journalist, I'm
What do you want us to do for you?
Please, I explain, you've hurt me!
Explain what?
Please,
Talk
you've hurt
about.
me, please! You've hurt me!
Get out!
Please, you've hurt me, I have my card here, you've hurt me, please!
Ziwa's ordeal is one of the many that other journalists have experienced when covering elections around the country. According to the Human Rights Network for Journalists, 40 cases of violence against the Fourth Estate have been registered this year alone, while 124 cases were registered last year.
About 70% of them involve security agents, especially the police.
The network's national coordinator, Robert Sempala, says the Uganda Radio Network journalist was also beaten by the Assistant Inspector General of Police at the Luweero by-elections.
Mr. Grace Strogman vehemently denied slapping. He didn't deny kicking and pushing.
Our effort to get a response from the police over this damning allegation were futile. There is growing concern among journalists over an increasing trend of intolerance of critical reporting by the police as the country gets closer to the 2016 elections.
The police must really be the very force that protects all of us.
In a 2011 letter entitled "We Shall Know Them by Their Fruits," President Museveni was quoted as having said that Al Jazeera, BBC, NTV and the Daily Monitor are enemies of Uganda's recovery and that they would have to be treated as such. The violence meted out at these journalists in Luweero is likely to have a chilling effect on many others and ultimately result in less critical reporting.
With 2015 just months away, the United Nations is considering complementary approaches towards the realization of the Millennium Development Goals. In a recent Buddhist function held in the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, the UN joined worshippers in a discussion on the use of alternative solutions to sustainable development and social change, finding a response to global warming and conflict resolution. Ernest Wisdom Chionga with the details.
Following its 1999 resolution, the United Nations has since 2001 celebrated the Day of Vesak, which is the birth, enlightenment, and death of Buddha Gautama, the founder of Buddhism. This May, during the 11th celebration of the United Nations Day of Vesak, over 10,000 people gathered here in Pagoda, Nha Binh in Vietnam to take stock of the United Nations Millennium Development Goals, especially within the Buddhism community.
The event, hosted in the northern part of the country, attracted Buddhists, dignitaries, scholars and guests from 95 countries. In a message read out at the opening ceremony, the UN Secretary General commended the contribution of religion and culture towards the effort to realize Millennium Development Goals.
Buddha's teaching can inspire our efforts to address many of the broader challenges confronting our world, from conflict to inequality to climate change.
The Buddhist message of peace, compassion and love for all living beings resonates with many events happening in the world, a notion the UN accepts.
An innovative mindset and approach to the growing environmental challenges will be needed to ensure that our planet can renew its life and resources naturally and peacefully.
At the 4th day celebration, monastic members and Buddhist followers from Vietnam and elsewhere shared intellectual and spiritual experiences.
Promote cultural and religious harmony, to strengthen ongoing effort to reduce violence, discrimination, and to uphold human values and dignity.
The aspirations of the international body hinged on pending goals, and the discussions included, among others, focusing sustainable development on 3 pillars of environmental protection, economic development, and social equality. At the conference, the Omukama of Toro appealed to the congregation to support him.
I was elected by the youth of Africa to be the global ambassador to eliminate HIV/AIDS by 2030. I call upon the Buddhist community and other development partners to join me in achieving this goal.
The VISAC 2014 statement calls on political leaders to resolve disputes related to sovereignty, territorial integrity, and jurisdiction over exclusive economic zones and continental shelves through negotiations and other peaceful means, in line with international laws. The United Nations Day of VISAC has become a cultural festival, complete with international solidarity and a message of peace and love based on Buddha's thoughts. There is hope that the Union will realize unity among countries for more practical actions for peace, cooperation, and progress. The world's leading development institutions have galvanized unprecedented efforts to meet the needs of the world's poorest. The UN is also working with governments, civil society, and other partners to build on the momentum generated by MDGs and carry on with an ambitious post-2015 agenda. Ernest Wisdom Chionga, NTV, Pagoda, Nihibin, Vietnam.
The Muslim community in Uganda has yesterday launched a fundraising drive for a community development project. Thousands of Muslims stand up at Nachivubo to make their contribution to the initiative that involves the construction of Ummah House due for completion in 2016. But as Solomon Kawesa reports, the top leaders of the main rival Muslim factions were a no-show.
Muslims stand up in large numbers to take part in the fundraising event organized by the Center for Muslim Unity and Development. This is the blueprint for the 10 billion shilling Ummah House in Ndeba, a Kampala suburb.
We have fought enough. It is high time we focused on development.
If I told you now you go in Kampala, which house belongs to Muslim was initiated by Muslim itself, who have been being aided.
The 10-storied building will house, among others, an ICT center and a health center.
There will be an ICT training center, a mosque and a health center.
In the recent years, property owned by the Muslim community has been at the center of sharp divisions among different sections. But the spokesperson for the Ummah House project, Siraje Chifampa, says measures are in place to prevent this.
We registered as a company to avoid personalizing this property, and we have external auditors who will be accounting for all the funds.
But transparency also is very, very important. But I think there will be nothing other than supporting it.
The project is a brainchild of Sheikh Muhammad Yunus Okamoga, one of the Muslim leaders. Ummah House is just the first of many projects. There is a plan to construct similar structures in all major towns in the country. Although the event was well attended, the top leaders of the rival Muslim factions in Chibuli and Old Kampala, who had been expected to attend the event, did not turn up. Solomon Kawesa, NTV.
Many people talk about budgets, but a majority of them do not actually budget for their businesses or their personal finances. But what does the right budget entail, and why is it important to have a budget? This is our focus in today's Personal Finance segment.
Personal Finance is brought to you by
Bank of Africa Mobile Wallet. Mobile banking like no other.
A budget is for a tool which is used for planning, and it's a tool which you can use for control as well. When we talk about it in terms of personal budgets, it's very important for you to have a personal budget, because it helps you figure out exactly how much you're earning, and then it also helps you to figure out how you're spending that money you're earning. So from a personal perspective, it's very important for you to be able to live within your means, and you can only do that once you have a budget and you know you can utilize your resources.
That's at a personal level, but for business, there are several types of budgets, but all of them targeted at creating the same impact.
Businesses have, their budgets are quite extensive. We can talk about having a capital budget, we can talk about having a working budget, we can talk about having a medium-term budget. And all these work towards achieving the same purpose and goal. One, making sure that the organization is living within its means, but also two, to ensure that there is sustained economic growth for the company itself, growth in terms of profits, growth in terms of assets, growth in terms of operations. You cannot achieve any of those if you do not have a budget in place.
But what are the dangers of not having a budget?
Not having a budget, if I might say, it's like planning to travel when you don't have a roadmap of where you're going. I mean, both of us could go and all of us will reach, but that one without a budget or that one without a roadmap is going to find it more expensive to reach the place than the one who has already a budget, because you will have planned to have it in advance.
Given the scarcity of resources and for those in employment, the meager salaries may get to make it prudent for one to budget before spending.
Reasons why we need to have budgets. One is that you can spend as much as you earn. You cannot just outspend yourself. Well, some people have done it, but it's not a healthy situation to be in financially. So one, it helps you prioritize your expenses. The budget helps you to maximize your savings, and it helps you to minimize your expenses as much as you can. The interesting thing about the budget is that you will know when you're following it and tracking it down, you will know and you'll be shocked at the amount of money you're spending on irrelevant stuff in your life, as opposed to, actually it would be as well very satisfying to know that you can actually save some of that money by doing some of the things you're doing.
Next month, government is expected to read the 2014-2015 financial year budget. In the national budget, the state normally prioritizes areas to spend on, plus identifying the sources of the needed income. Similarly, businesses and even at personal level, the same rule applies.
Spending what you earn, a good reminder for most of us, not spending more than we earn. Well, that's all we had for you in today's morning bulletin. Time now to find out what's making news in the headlines. We will join Simon and Joel. Simon, what has caught your eye this morning?
Well, of course, good morning, Mabel. Indeed, as always, the Red Pepper will always catch your eye with their screaming headlines. This time around, we're not looking at politics in the Red Pepper. And in fact, that is the strange thing about it. You'd expect on a Monday morning to wake up in the morning screaming at you with the political undertones. But this time around, they are telling you of the 500 highest and lowest paid Ugandans who are named. Now, I'm trying to flip through the list to see whether you, Mabel Kevirunji, or I, Simon Kasiate, or my dear colleague with whom I'm going to be joined this morning, Joel Senyonyi, is on the list of the 500, either highest or lowest paid. But of course, the Red Pepper and the Daily Monitor is what we'll be looking at in the press review this morning. Coming up. It's exactly 5 days to the end of the month of May, and that means we get halfway the year 2014. To be very exact, it's the 26th day of May 2014, and as always, it's fresh, brand new Monday morning, a brand new week, and we're coming to you live from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's the press review segment of Morning at NTV. My name is Simon Kasiate. I am joined by half the usual suspects, Joel Senyonyi, Brian Mulondo, being unable to show up this morning for having had a minor surgery to vital parts of his body. And I'm not giving up. I mean, really? While I was not here, suffering from a debilitating cold and flu, you and Brian came and gave all sorts of misleading information as to why I was unable to be here.
We just told them you were indisposed, you were unwell. But you
gave us funny details and all that. So, Brian, wish you a very quick recovery. Please just ensure that you keep out of reach of fire and keep out of reach of children, whichever way you look at it. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning. Are you well?
Well, very much well. I'm looking at the Daily Monitor, of course.
You should undergo that surgery now that you've talked about it.
They don't do those surgeries twice. I want to believe so.
Ah, okay.
Please, people are getting to understand what Brian is going through.
You already let the cat out of the bag. So.
77 of Ugandans want term limits restored. This is according to the Daily Monitor's recently commissioned poll by the Research World International. And yes, today we're waking up to a segment of that research showing that 77% of you Ugandans, want term limits to be restored.
I didn't participate in this poll, but I want to believe I'm one of the 77%. I think term limits should be restored. I've said it again and again. His Excellency the President should bequeath a good transition to this country. It is possible, it is doable. We've not seen it happening. You know, in this country, we've seen quagmire after quagmire as well. Each time we're trying to transit from one leadership to another. We need to see that coming back. You know, and it's interesting here, this is Todong, Minister without portfolio, who says here that...
he's the acting Secretary General of
No,
the
he's
NRM
not.
party.
He's actually not. He was just given a few responsibilities. The Secretary General is still Honorable Mama Babazi.
Whose
Todong was given
tribulations
one
don't
or
seem to
two-
end, and especially if you go deeper into the...
There you go. This gentleman says
the
the
Daily
NRM would respect the call if it had the backing of majority Ugandans. So
But,
there you have your call.
Well, 77% according to Todong may not be majority of Ugandans. It's very interesting who majority is. But yes, indeed, you want term limits to be restored, and it looks like the central region is the one that's calling the most, as well as the east region calling the most for the return of term limits. But I want to add that term limits should not be restricted to the presidency. Term limits must go down the political divide. That if you're president 2 terms or 3 terms, even 10 terms, we don't care, but there should be term limits. Even you members of parliament must have term limits. Because I have known everlasting members of parliament who also without shame sit at platforms like these ones in front of cameras and say, yeah, there should be term limits. They themselves have enjoyed the absence of term limits. LOC chairpersons, my village here where I go, the same chairperson, well, the current chairperson, LOC1 chairperson, is the son of the deceased former LOC1 chairperson. These people have taken
on passing on
it's
the
become
mantle.
like a monarchy.
And even the current ones are there by the minister issued
So
a
every
sanitary
elective
declaration.
position must have term limits. Of course, other than positions like ours where we enjoy the monopoly of saying only old age and perhaps death does you apart from the kind of job that we do.
But why not? One would think there are young people that are doing mass homework, are being churned out by universities. Why not take
And that is what, that is what I've always been telling people. You know that I have led by example before.
But now you're like Obote.
No, I'm Putin. You know, you must be like Vladimir Putin.
You went and came back.
Hey, you put up a Medvedev, then you come back. I mean, if term limits have failed, at least show a semblance of term limits. Be like Vladimir Putin.
If you say so, the Daily Monitor still reports that 65% of HIV positive people use condoms consistently. This is worrisome.
Some good news.
No, it's not. 65%, albeit again the condom is not 100% safe anyway. So this is worrisome.
Are you trying to say that HIV positive people must not indulge in sexual activity?
Did you hear what I read? 65% of HIV positive people use condoms consistently. That's a study. That means 35% of HIV positive people do not use condoms.
It could have been the other way around, that 35% of HIV positive people use condoms consistently and 65% do not. So I think for me the trend is is a lot better than it would have been. Previously, people who are HIV positive never cared to use condoms. For them, that is what we are told. Believe that since they have it, they can as well spread it because they didn't pick it up from a tree. And now we are seeing them becoming more responsible, knowing that they need to protect other people from getting
And of course, recently Parliament did pass that HIV and AIDS prevention and control bill,
which now becomes redundant with improving statistics like this one. But anyway, let's get down to the red paper this very good morning. You know, for them, they blow hot and cold. So we've seen the 500 highest and lowest paid Ugandans, and talking about the monies in the gossip section, and which is flagged on the front page. Museveni's in-law buys a 1 billion shilling car. Come on, what do you expect? He has what the money is, you know, he works extremely hard, so why wouldn't he? But just get yourself a copy of the red paper and find out who this in-law is, who is buying a 1 billion shilling car. As you can see, he takes very good care, or he's looking at taking very good care of his own security, that you've got to buy a car that fits within the specifications of your livelihood. You need a bulletproof car, you need one that has a water dispenser, you need one that is going to certainly make some ice cream for your kids. I mean, if I were in his position, believe you me, I would double this price. I keep telling you, if I were in such positions,
being the president's in-law.
A dossier, it says, exposes rot in Parliament. It is in the red paper. What rot in Parliament are we talking about? Well, if you look at the Daily Monitor
yes,
this morning.
Yes, the Parliament Director summoned by IGG. This is the head of
Director
budgeting
for budget,
and so on. Apparently, IGG officials went looking for him and they have failed to trace this gentleman.
It's the same story printing out in the red paper here where we're talking about that this official squandered over 900 million shillings in 1 month. Now, let us see how deep the teeth of these chattering and clattering parliamentarians who are always calling out for the big fish to be fried. Here you have your own director squandering over 900 million shillings per month. Let us see how deep your teeth can go into sorting this out in backup of the Inspectorate of Government, who is now, which is now on the hunt of this gentleman, Samuel Wonaka, now on the run.
And talking about siphoning of funds, judiciary warns corrupt staff. They did have a function and, well, I like to think they're also blowing hot and cold like they usually do. You see, for me, as long as we do not see tangible, ocular evidence, and as far as the fight against corruption is concerned, this whole talk, let's arrest them, let's do what, it's not going to cut it for us.
Well, we are still talking about Mbabazi and President Museveni, and now the battleground is the youth. And the red paper this morning is talking about the youth this morning from the Mbabazi camp who walked out angrily on President Museveni during a meeting, and yes, they were led by the notorious and youth-like Omodo.
The guy looks older than you, eh?
And I am clearly not one of those people you want to describe as a quintessential youth. But here you have a man in his prime still hanging on to the youth bracket and then causing mayhem in a party. But well, I've also seen on the other hand the pro-Museveni youth who don't actually look youth. Clearly, my friend who I had here the other day, Honorable Ogwang, I hope this is the last time he's going to call himself a youth. After 2016, he should not even dare to call himself a youth. Because clearly, I mean, at what point does a youth stop being a youth? You are the guy who knows English.
When you clock 35, you cease to be a youth, as far as our context here is concerned. But relatedly, NRM Youth outs from Mbabazi leader. You know about the now famous or infamous, depending on who you ask, Adam Luzindana. He was thrown out by a group of youth within Kampala. But of course, he's coming out to say, look, what they are doing is a waste of time because it is the NRM National Youth Conference that is supposed to throw him out. And, that's the way it is.
Well, of course, NRM continues to lick its wounds after the debilitating loss in the Luweero by-election. And yes, in the red paper this morning, well, interestingly, I see a kicker quoting Narwanga, that is the beleaguered NRM woman flag bearer, who says she's going to court soon. Are we going to see another by-election?
I hope she's
going to court for other reasons, certainly not overturn this election. But the NRM is blaming Alhaji Naduri, who is the district chairperson of NRM, for the Luweero debacle. Now, what has Naduri done? And what? But
the other day he was coming out to say, look, it is our internal challenges that caused us to suffer this.
Yeah, this was an interview, an exclusive interview with the NTV. And for me, what actually caught my eye was his articulacy in the English language. For the life of me, I really didn't expect that Alhaji Naduri spoke that fluently in English.
He's doing a lot better than guys who...
I am inviting him. I hope my producer is looking at this. Alhaji Naduri should come on the big story one of these days, have a discussion with us and wake us up in the morning and tell us exactly what has happened. What is the shift of the political stability that NRM is facing a tough challenge at their birthplace. And I think there is no better analyst than Alhaji Naduri, who lives in there, who has operated in there, who has fought the battles in there, and now who sees victory slipping out of their hands.
This is a lot better than this guy, this fellow that keeps talking about Kriche. I don't know if the producer will at some point play that clip again. You know, this guy who says, Kriche for cliche. I like to think that if cliche means a tired word, then that very gentleman is a Kriche himself, you know, because some of us are tired of hearing him and his entire poppycock. It is nauseating.
No, but I mean, every one of us has got our strategic advantages. That's why you find that you are going to be on this set path for the next 10 years. Would you like it if people start calling you a Kriche on TV? I mean, for him, he has cut out his niche, and his employer seems to be very happy with him. And who are you?
Who am I? Uganda. A guy who pays his salary, courtesy of the little taxes that I pay.
But come on, you don't pay his salary on an elective position. You see, if you were choosing him through an election, perhaps what you should do,
which is even better, because you see, for the elected ones, we can cut them some slack and say they're just popular and that kind of thing. But somebody is supposed to be appointed based on competencies and their abilities.
Who do you know that has been appointed on the basis of competencies? And I'm
your guess is as good as mine.
Government officials.
Your guess
and then
is as
when
good
contracts
as mine.
go wrong with people who go through a meticulous process of appointment in the corporate world, they start arguing that, oh, the
Are you talking about these companies who want to expel ESCOM Umeme? All right, let's move to the Observer. The Observer reports here, Museveni says Mbabazi is innocent. Now, there are no differences between me and him, says the president, as he was telling youth, while admitting his concern at the political activities of the premier's wife and the sister. Interesting. I don't expect them to agree, publicly, even though there could be issues. No, there actually looks like there are issues.
Well, but there shows you that President Museveni and Prime Minister Mamba Mbabazi's deep-rooted ties. Looks like the minions around them seem to be the ones fighting, but the principles seem to be on the same page. Minions.
Ah, oh yeah, that's.
But even millions as well. I mean, these are people who have supporting their millions, I want to believe.
Well, you want to multiply that some more. Now, Balunywa is on trial for fraud, fake papers. There are some activists that...
This is playing out in the Observer?
This is in the Observer that Professor Wasa Balunywa of MOBS, which some people like to think of as Makerere University boarding school. I am going to be hounded for that. Those are the views and comments.
Of course, not our views. They are your views, as Joey.
All right. How Nabukenya gave NRM a bloody nose. She really gave them a bloody nose. And the Observer here seems to anecdote how this did happen.
I did watch how on our flagship weekend program,
Before
the State last night, and clearly, to be very honest with me, I think she's cut out for the kind of secondary school and campus university politics where you just chant out slogans and you're loved because of chanting out slogans. Because when the unforgiving Chris Obori did put her to task, especially at the close of the program, to tell us in more clear terms what it is that she brings on the table, even if they had given that lady 60 minutes of that program, she would never have articulated anything. And if she doubts, let her come here on Tuesday on the big story and she articulates for us. She has enough time to prepare. Honorable Nabukenya, please be here and come and articulate to us exactly what you're going to do for the people of Luweero. Chanting out slogans of Luweero has been orphaned. Luweero, nothing has happened. You as a member of parliament, woman member of parliament, representing the entire district, what is it that you have on the table? So you have the Lord Mayor Lukwago, you've got Honorable Betty Nambos, you've got my friend Semuju. They can sit down with you.
Bukenya.
And my other good friend, Professor Gilbert Kenya. Please let them write for you notes on what they think you can do. Come here and just articulate them if you do not have them yourself.
But I'll tell you, many members of parliament actually do not clearly know what their role is. And that is why they run around
the Honorable Nabukenya,
and that kind of thing.
For many reasons. I told you when I was in Jinja, she looks extremely gorgeous. She has age on her side. She has got vigor on her side. She must at least have a matching brain power, at least the ability to at least articulate slogans in as much as she's not able to articulate them on the ground. So she should be able to articulate politics different from the old guard.
There you go, Nabukenya. You have been dared. I hope you will make good of that dare.
So I have two people here that have dared this morning, Haji Naduri and the Honorable Nabukenya. Back on this program, I think she is the lady on the spotlight, and Nabukenya, please do not shun away from this. It's an opportunity for you to imprint your mark even further on Uganda's political scene, because you are the lady of the moment, you are the star of the moment, and this is the time you should capitalize on this popularity to at least etch yourself permanently in the echelons of Uganda's politics.
All right, still cutting it here in the Observer. Science education is essential for Africa's transformation, someone here does say. But I'll tell you, I think many times we have denigrated arts as we try to uplift sciences. It is a good thing. I think arts are very innovative and that kind of thing, and we need to encourage it, But look, we've got districts that probably don't even have a single school that has got a very well-equipped laboratory. And here we are deriding the arts. And look, you don't look like you did sciences, did you?
Well,
but you don't seem like you're doing very badly in life.
You asked the question. Let me answer it for you. Those who were in St. Mary's College, Kisubi, class 98, 99.
No,
wait a minute. Wait. We'll tell you that they remember a young man of my names doing physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. Now, don't ask me how come I am here with you on this program.
That's what I was about to ask, because there you are.
Well, there I was. My dream was to become an obstetrics. An
obstetrician.
Well, that
it's your microphone, not you.
Certainly not myself. You are not telling us about. There is always personality profiling in the Observer every Monday morning.
Yes.
A syndicated program between that Observer newspaper and a certain radio station.
Dr. Busije Kabumba, this is a guy I like to listen to. He sounds very brilliant. He is brilliant, I think, and I think we need to listen to a lot more of such brain power. And look, many times when some of these people bring out certain issues that do not seem to be in tandem with the powers that be, we tend to throw them off balance.
He's Dr. Busije Kabumba. He's a law professor at the law done at the university. And guess what? He was only born in 1982.
There you go.
He joined us in primary school in 1987.
So you even bullied him, I would think.
Well, I was his head prefect for 3 terms, so clearly he knows that I led him through a period called Mufekane. a reign of terror. In the Daily Monitor this morning, you've got your usual Monday pull out, that's healthy living. And today they are looking at meningitis, a bacterial infection whose signs and symptoms are all there for you laid bare. You get to know what exactly this debilitating disease looks like and how it feels when you contract it, if you live long enough anyway to tell the story of recovering.
Brown envelopes haunt Museveni. This is playing out in the Observer. And I want to think they will haunt him some more and some more and some more. Look, I am not too sure Ugandans are going to get better while being given a handout. I think we need to give Ugandans a hand up. We need to build this country so that everybody can be a partaker in this our good country. As we give to it as well, because many times we keep clamoring, government do this, government do the other, but what are we doing for our country?
Indeed. Looking into the sports section of the newspapers that we have with us this morning, of course, you know that over the weekend on Saturday there was the UEFA Champions League. I wish Brian was here to tell us how he felt, because the last time I checked, he was a huge sympathizer of Atletico Madrid, who were playing it out with the football gods Real Madrid. I was seated somewhere that Saturday evening in a little bar along the road to Kisasi, and there was this little short guy who was drinking a beer, holding it with a serviette. I'm sure if he's watching this program, he knows himself. The man screamed himself to almost death when the first goal was scored of Atletico Madrid, and now he was there chanting, "Yes, down with Real Madrid." I didn't live long enough to see to watch this, because I'm not a football fanatic as such. I left, after my drink and all that.
Your drink or drinks?
It's singular, drink. Now, I want to look at that guy in the face now, this morning, and say, I wanted to have a look at him the time when Madrid came from behind to score the 4 goals they eventually scored. How did this guy feel? I want to believe he's still alive, because the way he shouted in support of Atletico Madrid, the loss that he felt, I have a feeling he might have committed suicide. Please, young men and women, you may support football, yes, but the level of fanaticism is getting out of the roof. That guy, I don't think there's anything he thought about other than that match. And the loss in that match, I want to believe, unless a miracle happened, that guy possibly committed suicide.
And we might need a miracle as we do face Madagascar in not too long a while. Let's be behind our country. I hope we will not need a miracle. We should thump these guys like we usually do here at Nambol.
Well, away from the football, because Dakaba Ismail will be giving us more into the world of football in our sports segment of Morning at NTV. Let's go back to mobile to find out what's happening on the international scene. We know that there is an election in Egypt this morning. Now, there are 2 presidential candidates, and of course the most favored is Mr. Al-Sisi. Remember, not so long ago he was Field Marshal Al-Sisi. Today he's Mr. Al-Sisi. We're going back Egypt. Egypt is going back full cycle, going back to being led by a military man, the same guy who was ousted in the name of Mubarak. Now we see Al-Sisi coming, and he possibly will become president. We also know that in Nigeria, there was still some increasing attacks from the Boko Haram. 20 people feared dead in another town close to that town where the 200 girls were abducted. A lot more playing out on the international scene. Mabel, what else is playing out on the international scene from where you are?
As you're going on, Simon, I thought, hey, he has done half my job already. Well, the story of the Egyptian elections is big here on the BBC Africa page. A huge security operation is underway across Egypt as voters prepare to head to the polls to elect a new president. Also a big story here is Malawi being blocked. Malawi's High Court rejecting or blocking a decision by President Joyce Banda to annul this week's general election in which she was a candidate. Now, a very big story in Europe is about these parties that have won places in the European Parliament. In UK, we have UKIP triumphing in a historic Euro election win, and we also have the far-right National Front winning in France. Now, victory in the polls for Marine Le Pen's party is reflected across Europe as extreme fringe groups take large shares of the vote. You may ask, what does this actually mean? Well, it means that people who prefer, should I say, people who want the EU to cut down on its powers or to abolish it altogether will have a greater say. Now, these are really extreme parties, so we need to keep note of that. And on the CNN page, when will this insanity stop? A sad story here of another man who goes on rampage, killing high school students and eventually killing himself. And the father is asking, when will this rampage stop? In Ukraine, also a big story around the world. Billionaire Poroshenko declares victory in Ukraine, having won about 56% of the vote, and his closest rival with about 13% of the vote. He is a candy tycoon, also known as the Chocolate King. Now, again here we see Eurosceptic earthquake rocks EU elections. Extreme far-right parties have seized ground in elections to the European Parliament in what the French Prime Minister calls a political earthquake. And we will end, I think, with this, a picture of Obama making a surprise trip to Afghanistan, hopeful on the security impact. He's there to really assure people that, you know what, we are actually getting out of Afghanistan after about 13 years, and we shall keep a small number of people here just for purposes of training and also for counter-terrorism. I can also squeeze in this picture here, Cristiano Ronaldo saying Real deserved to win over Atletico. A very sad game, I would say. I was supporting Atletico, so obviously I'm not too happy there. But we shall be talking about more sport later on in the show. The big story coming up after this break.
In this part of Uganda, many children still wonder about tomorrow.
Oh my God, sorry. He was going to eat soap. Did you see that?
The rivers do no good.
He's dead? Around this area, in these very trees, he danced.
These children are getting raped, these children are getting molested.
Many of these children raise their hands for help, and a great number of helpless parents look on.
He has nothing to do with Adon. No one can accuse him to go to Kidgum Hospital to get medicine.
They will continue holding on a little longer.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing.
No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon. You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him. Just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of mind. Abigail, I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me. Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone. I'd like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal his people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
The average age of the entire national team is under 18. And so
the primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make 1 or 2 rugby fans smile, that the clubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had
the same group of players, and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Vilagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for watching Morning at NTV this Monday, the 26th day of May 2014. We're now crossing over to Simon, whom I can see is in between two men. I want to know who they are. Simon, what are we talking about today?
Well, I have two indisputable gentlemen with me on the big story this morning, and as usual, we will be milking the Luweero triumph of the Democratic Party against the NRM, which treats this place as its cradleland. I have with me a special presidential assistant, if that's the title that's right, in charge of research and information. Find out how much research he made before this election. And of course, I have got a political analyst, a guy who's cut his teeth in analyzing politics, but also an astute lawyer in his own right. That's Godba Tumushabe and Morrison Rwakakamba, irrespectively. I mean, put the introductions the other way around in terms of titles.
Yeah. The special
A very good morning once again, and welcome to this edition of Morning at NTV. We're at the big story. My name is Simon Kasiate, and as always, we'll bring to you what's trending and what's deep in the world of politics, economics, and in the social happenings. But this morning, we continue to harp on the Luweero victory of Honorable Nabukenya, who subscribes to the Democratic Party against well, should I call her also honorable? Well, Narwanga, who represented the NRM. The NRM started its struggle that led them to power in 1986 in Luweero, and this was 5 years of grueling battle, sacrifices by the people of Luweero. In their indoctrination par excellence started in Luweero, but 30 years down the road, we see a shift that now they can afford to bring to Parliament a woman member of Parliament who doesn't subscribe to the NRM. What has so much gone wrong? And like I did earlier on, if you're just joining us, I have two gentlemen with me to analyze this from perhaps an academic point of view, or should I say from an empirical point of view, since I have got the Special Presidential Assistant for Research in State House, Morrison Rwakakamba, Research and Information, am I right? So he'll be telling us...
Office of the President.
Office of the President, yes. Not State House?
No.
I can't draw the line here now. So he'll be telling us how much research he carried out, and of course you know that he's been this very famous, or should I say trending opinion poll that the Daily Monitor is harping on, that they did commission, and it's also interestingly giving us some insights into President Museveni's popularity, the NRM's popularity, but we seem to see a different play out in reality. And yes, Godba Tumushabe, a former executive director of the Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, but also an astute lawyer in his own right, a political analyst, and some would even argue an activist for that matter. Good morning, Godba.
Good morning, Simon.
You are following very closely the happenings in Luweero, and in fact even more closely than you were previously, since you claim to be jobless at the moment, which I strongly disagree to. What did you pick of this election, just from an overview point of view? What, I mean, from the onset, what does this election trigger in you as a point of reaction to how the politics of the day is being played?
I think, first of all, let me take the opportunity to use this platform to congratulate Brenda for her win. Because I got to know Brenda Nabukenya quite close during the hot debates we had on the upstream oil legislation. And I really was convinced that this was a smart young woman, intellectually astute, very clear in what she wanted for this country, and really for no matter the imperfections in the last elections, I thought this is someone really who needed to be in parliament, and I think she.
Is that the same Nabukenya who was on the 4th estate last night?
Yes.
From that problem, I couldn't make that conclusion of her. But anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't know her from close calls, as you possibly did.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think for me, I felt like, yeah, she represented a new generation of politicians in this country. Now, having said that, I think that the Luweero elections tell us a number of things. One is that it reflects on the fact that the NRM has been around for quite a while. Because normally with all these regimes across this continent, when they stay in power, when a president stays in power, their ability to command authority, that you need to turn around things, keep on diminishing and diminishing. So the fact that you have President Museveni campaigning in Luweero, and Luweero being the cradle of NRM,
and the election turning out the way
it did, it tells volumes in terms of the shifting political landscape. But
is the political landscape shifting? And this is the question I will ask to the special presidential assistant in research and information. I don't know whether in all your, I mean, you're just newly appointed. I don't think that your research has covered why we are fading out in Luweero, but I'm sure with your brain you can possibly tell us an in-depth. What do you think has gone so wrong? Just like Godby is saying, what does this tell? He says, President Museveni campaigning there for 2 days, calling Nabukenya also to name she's childish. Well, she looks like a baby on the face, though. That should be a compliment.
But that's no reason to be called childish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All this and the election turning out the way it does, Godby says it tells you of something. Do you have an idea what that something is from your figures?
No, well, from the figures, we do think that it's not a problem, because what determined the outcome was largely the provincial quarrels at the Luweero level within the politics and how it played out. And as you know, the way politics play at the local level, especially for LOC3's members of parliament, LOC5 chairpersons, it's not the same way it plays at the national level. So there is no way that diminishes the popularity of President Museveni. You have seen a lot of high-level attrition at parliamentary level.
Absolutely.
Every other episode of elections, you see,
new parliamentarians,
you know, 60% of all the MPs are out.
We also know that President Museveni wins in places where NRM fails.
And I can tell you, even when NRM MPs are being ferried,
yes,
President Museveni, and if you look at the 375 polling stations in Luweero and the 91 parishes, in the last elections, President Museveni swept all of them, and NRM MPs and other politicians never did that. So there is a difference.
Morrison,
do you see
let's
that?
get down to the figures here, of course, let's look at the Luweero triangle. We've got the Honorable Saida Bomba, we've got the Honorable Kiduma Kubuya, you've got the Honorable Rosna Mayanja, who is not coming back this time round, and you've got a new Honorable Chrysostom Muyingo from Bamunanika. Now, if you look at Saida Bomba and my good old friend, the former Attorney General, these are people who are into their 4th and 5th terms in Parliament, or their 3rd and 5th term. These are people who, I think for the most part, will have a lot of competition coming to them. Now you're here harping on your Musevenism of Museveni remains popular. But for how long can the ripe mango tree remain up there if the roots are being cut at the very first
There is another aspect. You realize that NRM did not do primaries this time around, because according to the NRM constitution, once you have a previous somebody who won in the primaries, unless she decides to say, I am out to do primaries, she becomes a constant. So even when she was unpopular, it becomes very difficult, you see. So NRM has many other young, agile, intellectually astute,
you NRM are known to convince people who are not really game changers.
No, it's a democracy. The NRM, the contestations are very, very, very democratic. And,
say that again.
and the principles in the constitution are seriously followed. So what I'm telling you,
Secretary General is looking at you and say, look at this young man, he has no idea what he's talking about.
Because, you know, NRM is really very clear. So what I'm telling you, is that in Luweero, the constitution could not allow NRM to select or elect any other candidate who would be, you know, very astute and agile and transitional and generational, just like Godba talks about the excitement about young people. So yes, NRM, we may say, did not have the best candidate. And that's why it was punished on the polls, because even at that local level, those local quarrels I talked about, they again bring in the aspect of individual merit.
I will get
and
back,
I
will get back to you on that one.
Okay.
You knew that this was a highly unpopular candidate.
You
had your research earlier
really
on, and you still went ahead to support them so that you can get yourself a beating that you brought upon yourself. What kind of party presses the self-destruction button? But before we can
No,
get
because
there,
the numbers still balance in parliament. We can say pass our agenda.
Oh, since you are 200 of you can as well.
You can lose one.
Well, like they say, a leak at a time, sank a what?
No. We actually need opposition to also survive. We need a credible opposition to give us alternate points of view.
Then why do you want to waste money and splash around over the place and tear gas
It's
people
important.
if you really wanted double Kenya?
Yeah, because you see, at the end of the day, you need balance of forces, also to test the ground and see what's going on.
But you are sounding more like a spin doctor as opposed to a researcher.
No, but I gave you the numbers.
There is an interesting trend of the failure to adhere to the tenets of the dictates of multi-party politics. Not so long ago when we were clamoring to move to multi-party politics, you remember very well, as one of those opponents, strong opponents, in my humble view, that we shouldn't go into multi-party politics because I believe that we are not matured as a people and as a country to abide by multi-partyism the way it should be. Besides, I also prefer the individual merit that you, Godba, could wear a red tie and you belong to the UPC. But I like you. I think you're a nice guy. But simply because I subscribe to the FDC, I should not deny you my vote and deny you the opportunity to come to parliament and deliver because you belong to. So I believe that I should vote someone on the basis of their competences, not the party lines they tow. Luweero. We see a young astute, like you described Nabu Kenya. You possibly could subscribe to the UPC. You possibly could subscribe to the NRM, but your party discipline does not allow you as an NRM person to go and campaign for her because that person doesn't represent your ideology. But we saw Professor Gilbert Mukenya, we saw the mayor of Luweero, these people putting their weight right behind Nabu Kenya. Isn't this a disturbing trend in our politics? How can we clamor on one hand to be multi-partist, and yet on the other hand we are seeing the breakage of party affiliations and ideology supporting other people?
No, I actually think that there is no contradiction.
Sure.
Yes, there is no contradiction because you see, one is that this whole issue of mercurity about multi-party politics, it doesn't. You don't buy it from a store. You don't learn it from school. No, it is the people who are committed to say we want to run a system that allows competition that is governed by certain rules. Now, in our current discourse, our biggest challenge is actually the NRM. Because I always actually argue that NRM for me is like a grand deception that has happened in this country, where you have an organization that is fused with the state and it calls itself a political party. If you look at its infrastructure,
party
power. No way. But you see, even then, normally in multi-party politics, a party wins elections and forms a government. The party remains here, overseeing what the government is doing and how what it's doing is related to the party. But if I can finish my thought, but most importantly,
you tell us how it does later.
Most importantly, the government is supposed to run as an entity that serves everybody. Now, in our
away
case,
from your classroom description of all these trending happenings, now let me just put you a direct question where I need a direct answer. So Professor Gilbert Mukenya, chairman of the NRM Wakiso district, was within his right, and it's proper that he should have gone to Luweero and campaigned. So next time I will see Dr. Kiza Besigye, who is a very good friend of Morrison Rwakakamba, going to Rukunjiri municipality and campaigning for Morrison Rwakakamba against Ronald Kajinda, who is an FDC.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. It's absolutely okay because you see, the celebrated democracy, which is the US.
I mean, it doesn't even sound absolutely. It sounds absurdly okay.
No, Simon. The US, which we consider a celebrated democracy, you get.
You're going to tell me about.
You get Colin Powell
endorsing
President Obama.
But that was a travesty.
And let alone, even when they are not partisans, they are also groups called independents. So there are some of us who may not subscribe to any party but will support a candidate. I have no doubt in my mind how for the long time I have known Morrison. I may not be NRM, but if Morrison said I'm throwing myself in the ring campaigning, I probably would be campaigning for him because of who he is. So for me, as an independent,
if you go to Mushabe, where FDC chairperson for Ntungamo and Morrison Rwakakamba and NRM Stalwart was contesting in neighboring Rukunjiri municipality, and you were seen campaigning for Morrison against Ronald Kajinda, do you think Ronald Kajinda of FDC would feel comfortable with your president's
definitely not.
So
definitely not.
Now, Morrison, let's get down to this. We saw, well, NRM falling out in its cradle, and I have argued, I have questioned. People in Luweero say they feel disenfranchised, that you who they carried on the backs, nurtured and threw into power, you have not come back to give them what they deserve. Some people will argue that indeed there is no health center to talk about, there is no credible education taking place in Luweero, the infrastructure is debilitating, Luweero is just as undeveloped as other places, they feel disenfranchised. On the other hand, some people also argue that to Luweero people have been given so much affirmative action in ministry for Luweero. They have given them money, they have put in nuts, they sent their sare, they did all sorts of things. And yet, Luweero people continue to behave like Oliver Twist. They clamor for more and more and more. Which is which?
And the veterans still come to the
exactly, they keep pitching camp here at Parliament and littering the whole place. So clearly, which is which?
I think I need
is it the people who want more than they deserve, or is it a government that has neglected its own people that brought it to power?
I need to restate the ideology of the movement, which gravitates on 4 core principles. Non-sectarianism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation.
Those don't sound ideological.
No. They are very,
let's repeat them. I'll be sure you know them.
Non-sectarianism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and nationalism. Do you see?
Not patriotism. This time.
No, nationalism. Okay. And I can tell you, you know, the NRM is nationalist, and whether the district is Amadat, whether it is Karamoja, whether it is Kanungu, through the national budget architecture, resources are sent in order to deliver public services.
And you see,
affirmative action so whether in Luweero, okay, whether in Nakasongora, through the budget, the national budget, which members of parliament appropriate, resources are delivered into these districts. So it is the role of the local leaders to monitor how things are happening, to see are the resources and money reaching the people. Do you see? At the health centers, I saw Naduri asking the president on a rally that we need. I mean, for me, going forward, I do believe that NRM may need to reimagine itself in terms of the way
and its ideology,
in the way it nurtures, you know, some of its leaders. So what happened in Luweero was not very much about the NRM or President Museveni, but was about some of the inability of local leadership, not only in NRM but in all these other parties at different levels.
Does your Dr. Morrison, for example, cover research, political research?
Absolutely, because when you see what is happening across the entire divide of the 375 polling stations in Luweero, you realize that at the local levels, NRM candidates actually win. Do you see? But when it comes to the MP, they are like, this is not the best person that we want. It comes to the presidency. And the poll that you talk about was very much about presidency, not about these local parliamentarians. So then they reward President Museveni. They believe he's the man to take the country forward, but they believe that at the local parliamentary level, NRM needs to deliver a better candidate. And I think after this huge loss, and we congratulate Nabu Kenya, we are not going to...
You're speaking on behalf of NRM? Or
we are not... NRM is not going to walk to work because it lost an election in Luweero. It is
but I see the report this morning report that Narwanga possibly could go to court.
She may go to court, which is...
within her right.
Which is within her right, and because there is a clear judicial system that delivers justice. But what I'm telling you, is that NRM will engage in an immersion, you see? To reflect and see, why did we lose in Luweero? What did we do at this level, parliamentary level, in 2016?
You have been losing by-elections in, well, I
can't say... Not at all, with all by-elections, how many by-elections did NRM lose?
You have lost some by-elections here. I mean, haven't you had enough time to...
In a democracy, it is normal to lose and win. And when you lose, you reimagine, you go in an immersion and analyze why. So
this is the third election in Luweero in 3 years. You have lost 2 of 3. You didn't learn your lesson in the first one?
No. It's a continuous engagement, Simon. It's not that when you lose and you lose again.
So as we conclude this program, Morrison, you're telling viewers, especially those who subscribe to the NRM party, that there's no need for panic. The NRM will emerge stronger and better from this loss.
Absolutely. It's a system of smoothing differences. We congratulate Nabu Kenya, and we do believe that she's also in parliament under the affirmative action which was brought in by the NRM. So it's progress of democracy.
make your concluding remarks before I cast Morrison, because me and him, we need to gossip about a certain friend of ours who played a very big some role in Luweero, and we just gossip about him in about 2 minutes. That's Professor Gilbert Kenya. But now,
I think for me the other important message
is not very authentic.
The other important message from the Luweero election is that actually by the political opposition working together, they can actually mount a very significant challenge.
But they can only do this during a by-election where Abu Katuntu is not busy in his place, Nambos is not busy in Mukono,
Simon,
Elias is not here being tear-gassed in Kampala, and my good friend Uganda is not with Mamerito.
No, the point is that you look at this as a lesson, and as you go towards 2016, then you begin to figure out how, when the election is covering the entire country, what are the mechanisms that we can put in place to be able to work together?
But tell me, when you looked at the video footage of Olaro Tunu hugging Bukenya, and what was Olaro Tunu talking about there?
Oh no, actually,
for a man who didn't even vote for himself in a place like Luweero, which considers UPC as a demonic
for me, Simon, as a citizen.
Do you think that a guy like Olaro Tunu, when he went to Luweero, had he gone also make some inroads of UPC presence, so that at least the sentiments towards UPC can be reduced?
No, sure. His presence there is important. The physical interaction with the voters is always important. So if this platform of electing in Kenya gives him an opportunity,
you think he had any impact for a man who cannot
speak
the local dialect?
That cannot be done scientifically.
Of a dialect which is largely spoken in Uganda, and you cannot even say one word.
For me, it's like Olaro Tunu presented himself to the voters in Luweero. He had an opportunity. Whether he actually gained by being there is a scientific question which you need to assess.
You love science.
No, seriously, you can't just
drop these things that drop off. Morrison, as we conclude this program, Professor Gilbert, I saw him hugging Nabu Kenya, kissing her on the forehead and all that.
For Professor Kenya, I don't think the opposition also trusts him very much, because they are not sure that next week whether he will still be with them, because he's a man who we know that he flip-flops. So he's not an authentic politician.
You're the first person I've heard him calling him by description. Mr. what? Professor who? Flip-flop.
So my own point of view, there are many flip-floppers within his party.
As my own point of view, he makes certain important observations. He says, look, a party that's going out there to intimidate and harass voters does certainly not augur well with his personal sentiments.
No.
A party that goes ahead to disenfranchise the people, that brought it
the
power.
point is, that's really cherry picking. If some police officers make mistakes, that's not part of the grand NRM ideology. So for me, that should be dealt with administratively, not politically. So for Professor Kenya, he has to stick to the ideology.
At what point?
And if he wants to right the wrong,
do such activities stop being cherry picking into the grand?
This is why, if there are some disagreements, they have to be discussed within the rubric of the political party. You don't go and showcase. You see,
you want
and pal with the oppositionists, and those oppositionists, by the way, don't trust you because you have been flip-flopping. So Kenya is absolutely not authentic, and the people of Uganda cannot trust him.
And that said, it means that you are taking this man through a disciplinary section as the NRM.
That is what should normally happen, and I'm looking forward to the party structure.
Do you actually think that the NRM is going to give Kenya a fair hearing, given the fact that you are making such remarks about him?
This is my point of view, but Professor Kenya will have a chance, to present his own point of view, to present his case. Justice presents the two sides. He has to be listened to.
There we have it. An interesting look at the Luweero situation, and I hope that the protagonists and the opposite of that, antagonists, have been working very keenly and looking at what these two gentlemen have to say from where they sit. Now, I'll take a short break. When I return, it will be my opinion. Welcome back. It's the big story, and yes, time for me to make my personal opinion. Now, I want to honestly say, I don't think I really have much of a personal opinion on the issue of Luweero. So you say I think I have, I'm not confused, as someone wants to suggest, but I think I'm at a point where I am a little bit undecided on what exactly I should say on the issue of Luweero. But one thing remains certain. The people of Luweero spoke, and they spoke loud and clear and made their legitimate choice. And I want to believe that in Nabu Kenya, Honorable Nabu Kenya, they see tremendous hope of a young person who will carry them forward to the place where they think they should be as a people. All we can do, those who feel disenfranchised by Nabu Kenya's win, embrace her, Give her a chance. Do not disorganize. I mean, you've disorganized her enough. She's gone through 3 elections in 1 parliamentary term. That alone is enough disorganization for anyone to put their heads together and deliberate, at the same time legislate on your behalf, as well as monitor government programs. I want to believe that a lot of weight should be put onto Nabukenya and support onto Nabukenya so that she's able to complete her term. But Nabukenya, do not take this as some kind of carte blanche, that since you've got this support, you must sit back and start enjoying the perks of parliament, an increased allowance, laptop, iPad, you're no longer at laptop level, parking in a multi-million storage parking lot, parliament driving a 110 million shilling car, and of course being under security surveillance in the parking of over 25 billion. That should not distract you from the core reason as to why you stood before the Luweero people and told them you are delivering to them change. I think it's a moment for you to show your political maturity in a young body, which the president wants to call childish, but to show that you are able to carry these people in as much as you don't subscribe to the party that your folks did lead to power. But the reason why they voted you is because they see some tremendous hope in you. The moment you're able to balance all that, and of course for Narwanga to sit back and reflect even further, go back on the ground if you're still interested in politics, or do something more productive for the people of Luweero. We always never get what we want in life, but certainly we make the best out of it. And indeed, you may not have woken up very well on this wonderful Monday morning, but certainly you can make the best out of it by making it productive on your part. And like I always say, the collective and some productivity of each one of us will make this country the place that we want it to be. Have a wonderful morning, and yes, have a great and tremendous productive week, and keep tuned to the program as well, because we continue giving you the best of our programming. Have a wonderful morning.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
So I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Mr. Krabs, are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Oh, Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? Yeah. That's a mega win!
Hello?
King Julian, you are truly inspiring.
Ow! SpongeBob!
Fantastic!
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Mikwano gyaffe bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo muli gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde kati gwa 7 kitundu wali gwa 9 ne mugugoberera ne tusanyuka kati gubongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo gusooke gubatayize gubaleetere buli kintu kyonna kalonda erinawo byemizannyo ogwo muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 isima waali alagira Argentina njo mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinaatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'emizannyo 2014 President.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
You're still watching Morning at NTV this Monday, the 26th day of May. Thank you for tuning in and celebrating birthdays today. If today is your birthday, you are celebrating it with Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz is one of those eccentric, probably not so eccentric, but singer-songwriter with a different style of music, a bit of funk, a bit of rock, a bit of soul, a bit of R&B. He turns 50 today, and he's actually the son of Roxy Rocker, whom we know from the Jeffersons sitcom. Turning 39 today, Lauryn Hill. She's actually in Australia at the moment for a concert. She started off with the Fugees and then she had a solo career, successful but very short. And yeah, she has 6 kids now, married to one of the Marleys, and we do wish them a happy birthday. Now on to some of your messages this morning. We have Antonio talking about the story earlier about the police brutality. He says, watching the police brutality in the country, I can only say that they are worse than terrorists. We have Johnson wishing all the Gulu students success with their exams. He says, in spite of the tear gas, they are still steady. And Andrew Mwanga saying a big hello to Ugandans from Busia. We have Hussein saying NRM has lost 5 out of 7 by-elections. Morrison should know. And some of the, if you missed the big story, we do have some excerpts here on our Facebook page. After this loss, we congratulate Nabu Kenya. NRM will engage in an immersion to reflect and see. That is according to Morrison. And we have Dennis saying, she didn't win basing on merit, but it was a slogan-backed victory. I don't think that's a problem. Because we all know Obama with his yes we can, and he won the victory. So I guess that means people should come up with clever slogans. And two other quotes from Morrison this morning. NRM did not have the best candidate. That is why it was punished. Brian Agaba saying, we are yet to punish them further in 2016. That was a tip on the iceberg. We are really tired. Simon, just leave them. They will learn and forget nothing. Now we cross over to Joel for today's everyday life. Joel, whom do we have? Good morning, Joel.
How good is your customer care? This morning we want to elucidate a bit on that particular subject matter. Customer care. In Uganda, we do not seem to have a very good dose of it. Why is that the case? My guest this morning is Sudesh Kaka. Sudesh is proprietor of Sudesh International Consult. They in many ways help people to see how they can better their customer care. We'll be talking that when we get back shortly. All right. It is Everyday Life. My name is Joel Senyonyi. Joining me this morning, Sudesh Kaka. Sudesh is a proprietor, Sudesh International Consult. Good to have you here, Chief.
Good. I'm very fine. You're looking sharp.
Care. You see, in Uganda, we tend to have a lot more customers care than customer care. What is wrong with us? You move into somebody's shop and they give you this look that seems to insinuate that your presence is good, but your absence is better. And for goodness sake, I'm thinking, I have brought some little money here, so you should be treating me nicer. Why are we that way?
I think there's a general sense of complacency. People don't value people as they should. And so if you don't put a value on someone, then you're not going to value their business. So that's the general sense of what's happening, and I know it's changing, but we are a long way from that.
Foreigners seem to do it a lot better than we do it here. I was telling you the other day, you know, sometime I walked into an Indian shop. This guy was grilling and hounding his employee, and then when I turned in, you know, he gave me this very beautiful smile, and I was thinking, but this guy here is a hypocrite, you know. But point is, they tend to treat customers and clients a lot nicer than we do. Is it that they have mastered the art? Is it that we just grow up in a very wanton manner, so we don't know these things?
Service is a lifestyle. So the way you treat your employee should even be much better than the way you treat the external customer that comes in. So there is a little bit of controversy when you shout at your employee and treat the person who comes in with a smile. So I believe it should be two-way. Should treat all people with value.
So tell me, what does customer care entail?
Customer care entails treating the people with respect, but adding value to them so that they can add that value to the people that come in to bring the business. That's what customer care is all about.
You don't seem to have a tethering of a client. That seems to be the internal one.
The client is anyone that you serve. If you're an accountant, probably you're not going to meet the client that comes in. Sure. Yeah, but you're serving someone in IT, so that's your customer. So the person who is the customer care operator will serve the external customers. So the definition of a customer is broad. It's not narrowed down to the person who walks into the shop.
The people, of course, that will give the exculpation that, look, I have had a very bad day, things are not right at work, things are not right at home. And so they expect that you should be able to understand. So I'm thinking, to what extent do we get to find that balance of, I've come in to be served, this person is not treating me too nicely, but I, as a client, have got to be very understanding too, because this is a human being serving me too.
You should understand people. You should understand human behavior, but at the same time, you should understand that, you know, I've come in and I have a window of 5 minutes, and during that time, I need to do business. So at that time, I need service from you. I need you. Service is, you know, if I treat you nicely and you treat me nicely, that is very normal. But if I come and I shout at you and you treat me nicely, that is noble. And I think we should exemplify that. We should do that noble service, and that's what is lacking.
So how does one get to actually play out this customer care, assuming they run a business, whatever kind it might be, or, you know, they serve clients of any kind? How should they do this thing called customer care?
There are two sides to this. Number one, to the employer, they should know one thing, that people are not your greatest asset.
Is it? But I've heard time and again that people are supposed
no. That's a misconception that people are your greatest asset and treat them this way and treat them that way. That's a misconception. The right people are your asset.
Interesting. Not people, but the right people.
Yes. So get the right people. Let them treat them nicely so that they can treat the other people that come in to give you business nicely. And that's how you get this whole thing wired of customer care.
How about treating clients? Because many restaurants, for example, will hire people that are not exactly trained in that particular industry. People that they look for people that are probably in senior 6 vacation, or they are at campus but would want to make a buck or two, and so they get them on board. You know, and somebody finds themselves swimming in shark-infested waters. They're in the deep end. They don't know how to do this thing. How do they get to do it? They're probably working at this restaurant, or they've been hired as a receptionist or that kind of thing. How do they get to exemplify, like you say, customer care?
There are two sides to this. Number one, you cannot train a person to be nice, but you can train them how to get that cup and serve that coffee. So you get people that are naturally nice and train them how to serve that cup of tea. And it's regardless of whether they are in S6 or they have a PhD. If they are not nice, they are not going to carry out that service. So first of all, get the people that are nice, then add the skill to them, and you have magic.
People that are nice, where do you get those from? How do you tell who is nice and who is not? By just looking at me? Well, again, there are people who, because of one reason or another, you know, they probably come from this very hardened home. You know, their parents beat them up in advance and that kind of thing. And so they get petrified. They do not have that niceness about them. You seem to insinuate that those ones are written off completely. They cannot be helped to become nice.
I tell you one thing. I think it's a misconception when we hold our history against us, because 98% of millionaires were not, they never had money growing up. So if history is going to be tied along your history line, then into your future, then you're not really acting out that well. So you have to purpose to be that kind of person. Then after that, you go out and just learn and keep learning, and also, you know, you hang around the people that are nice, and you know, sometimes you get it, sometimes there are people that are not nice at all, and maybe it's because of their personality that they can't come out and they can't smile, and they prefer to just punch in the figures. You have to hire the right fit.
Let's get to the basics. Very, very clear basics. Yeah, you have come to my office, for example. How should I attend to you?
You've come to my office. Number one,
office can, you know, stand for many things. It can stand for a restaurant, it can stand for that farm, it can stand for whatever the case might be. But you have come, I'm supposed to attend to you. How do I get started?
Number one, I should have an attitude of service, that you've come in and I value your service. Because if I don't have it here, then whatever I speak is going to be very plastic. And I'm sure you've met people like that. They smile at you, they greet you, but you know, there's something plastic about this. So I should first of all have that attitude, and I should smile, and I should treat you very well, and I should ask you what you're there to do. And most importantly, I should endeavor that I do more than what you ask for.
Look, you talk about plastic, but I'll tell you, many times I thought that's what is supposed to happen, you know. You leave home, you're very angry, you're very grouchy, you had a not so good weekend. You're supposed to come on a show like this one and put your best foot forward, you know. And so you're supposed to forget about everything and for your smile. Is that not what it's supposed to be? If somebody is supposed to be waiting on me at a restaurant, I don't care what they are going through. They're supposed to smile, they're supposed to be nice. And one would think that is forgery.
It's not forgery, it's an attitude. If you have an attitude to serve, then regardless of what you're going through, you're going to put that aside and serve the people. And the smile will come in naturally. But
putting that aside, you seem to insinuate that it comes easy. How does one do it? You know, because they'll tell you, I'm going through a certain season. You know, there are seasons in life where everything seems to be upside down, you know, but you're supposed to work, you're supposed to be nice, you're supposed to, you know. How does one do it?
It doesn't come easy. Number one, I believe that as the employer, you should treat people, you should add value to them, you should give them their salaries on time, you should make sure that they are working under the right conditions. So as an employer, you have a part to play, but also as an individual going through whatever you're going through, I think you have to wake up every day and ask yourself one question: what am I here to do? And what I'm here to do is to contribute and add value to the person that comes through that door. And that's exactly what I go out and do.
Many an employee will tell you, look, my boss doesn't pay me well enough, does not pay me on time, they do not treat me nicely, but I'm supposed to get to that job and have a good attitude. That just doesn't seem to work. Sounds like an oxymoron of sorts.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. The attitude of service goes beyond your job. I'll give you an example. I know a lady in this town who, because she served us very well at one of the resorts, right now she's a manager in one of the multinational companies, because this CEO said, you know what, you're very good, come tomorrow and see us. And just because she was nice, we didn't know what she was going through, but she was nice and she did more and above what she was expected to do. And service went beyond that. So people and employees should understand that when they get out to serve, regardless of whether their salary has been paid or not, that person that comes through the door might have the key to your future, and they might go on and make your future much better. So you should serve them as a king, like we say.
When you go around restaurants in Kampala or shops in Kampala or wherever the case might be, do you think employers are doing enough to train their employees? Because many a time I want to believe that the employer should take the first step of saying, look, I am hiring these people. They're not exactly professionals at this, but they're young people whom I want to give an opportunity to do some work while I give them some money as well. Do you think we are doing enough?
No, we're not doing enough, and I'll tell you for a fact, I'm very selective with the kind of restaurants that I go to because I want that stellar service. And you walk in and you sense the employer wants this person to serve, but they have not been trained to serve, so they fall short. And if you don't train someone to fire a gun, they are not going to know how to fire that gun. So we are lacking. We hire people and we expect them to perform, yet they've not been trained. So I urge all, restaurant owners, but people that are in the service business, train your people, because you get back much more than what you invested in.
All right, thanks so much, Sudesh Kaka, for sharing your thoughts this morning.
Pleasure.
I hope somebody has been nudged in one way or another to become better at this thing we are calling customer care.
Pleasure.
All right, now, Ismail standing by. Ismail, I don't know how good your customer care is. Sometimes you look like a guy who has customer care instead of customer care.
What's the difference between customer care and customer care? I'm one of those who think that there should be probably a graduate course in customer care. It's one of the most bizarre things. Even in restaurants where you buy food, you find the customer care appalling most of the time. But in Madrid, they are celebrating and singing Champione because they are champions of Europe for the 10th time. We talk about that. There is a Ugandan team that is going to the World Cup, and that is in beach volleyball. And an obscene amount of money is going to be paid by PSG to Chelsea for the transfer of David Luiz. That and more when we get to sport.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fiscal code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only two individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Kampala has been voted in the past as one of the favorite cities for tourists, one of the most peaceful cities. That is something that is changing.
Kale Kaihura, the Inspector General of Police, and President Yoweri Museveni, their alliance, they can only crack down or stop individual strikes and individual demonstrations. But I don't think they can stop the growth of militancy.
No holds barred.
Besigye and Lukwago have particular grievances against the government, some legitimate, some misguided. What should the police do? Of course, the police has to intervene, A, to protect the power of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM from disruption by Besigye and Lukwago, but B, also, never forget this, to protect those ordinary people whose property gets destroyed.
I want to ask that many think that they've actually been frustrated.
Opposition parties in Africa do not tend to be constructed around policy differences. FDC lacks a glue to hold its coalition of different power-hungry individuals together.
Incisive.
You see, the NRM is more divided internally than the FDC. The advantage with the NRM is it has political power.
Analytical.
I think that one of the best organized political parties in Uganda is the PPP, the People's Progressive Party with Dan Sali. This idea that everybody is telling around the world that Africans are poor and they cannot contribute to their own political and social emancipation is crap. In fact, I think that the opposition parties in Uganda have to win an election in an unfair and unleveled ground.
Newsnight with Andrew Mwenda.
Hey there, Mr. Krabs! Are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? That's a mega win!
Hello? King Julian, you are truly inspiring. Ow! SpongeBob! Fantastic!
oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika era bulanga basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagende mu lukoola eyo nakasongola mu buluuri twagende mu butale babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteekamu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Deception.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I know you might not believe this, but I do care so much about you. My love for Monica is stronger than my intentions.
Ne bwe mba mubiyenkana wanese mwagaliza bizibu byonna byonna ku mugwako nze simwagaliza mbeera mbi.
Deception.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're still watching Morning at NTV. This not so beautiful Monday, a bit overcast, as Simon Kasiate would say. So thank you for watching us. Time now for sport, and I'm joined by Dakaba Chigongo. How are you, Isma?
Good morning, Membo.
You've been away for a couple of days. Now it's Brian's turn. Brian, we hope wherever you are, you get better.
Yeah, Brian will be back with you at some point later this week. I only missed Thursday and Friday.
Yes, what were you up to?
For commitments elsewhere. I don't want to reveal them, not on this platform. They are totally very secretive missions that I'm trying to accomplish.
Secret plans and clever tricks.
but at least I'm back again.
Well, we missed you. I missed you on the show, and for once you'd have seen my real hair. You had been here on Friday.
No, I missed you in person, not in the show.
But you didn't call me. You didn't. How would I know? No. At least me, I'm saying this.
I keep my secrets.
You keep your secrets.
And I'm whispering this, by the way.
Secretly,
I missed
you like me,
Not really.
I think we had better move on to sport, otherwise my heart will get so broken here. Well, over the weekend, we had lots of action. Let's start with basketball here locally. We saw the biggest game in the women's division going to KCCA.
Yeah.
Is this a sign of things to come? I know KCCA seems to be... Is this something because Jennifer Musisi is in office, or... I was just thinking about it, you know.
It has nothing to do with...
change, a lot of change in KCCA.
I think it has nothing to do with the political hierarchy at KCCA, because this team has been competitive for almost a decade. From when they came into the division, that is about 9 years ago, and they won the league in their first time of asking. It hasn't been this. I actually think most of the things that have happened politically have disorganized the team, especially financially. I know some of the players don't get their money on time. But over the weekend, they beat up on the UC Lady Cannons 55-52 in the biggest game of the women's division. These are the two teams that have contested each of the last 3 finals, and the only teams that are likely to stand any chance of winning the championship. You actually have to go as far back as probably 2005 for a team that won a championship that was not either UCU or KCC. It's between those two teams, and from what I saw from the game, it's got to be between the two of them again. Even if KCC will think they have advantage, even if they didn't have Peace Proskovia, who moved from UCU to KCC but had a bit of an injury and couldn't take to the court. UCU had Morina Moding play for the first time over the weekend this season, but eventually that wasn't enough to get them the result, as they lost the game by just 3 points. But the margins between the two sides are very, very small. I would love to think that it's going to be like this the entire season. But like UCU, who lost the game, Warriors, who have been 2-time champions, that is back in 2009 and 2012, again beaten. It's been that kind of season. They are losing games they shouldn't lose, and over the weekend they lost to Ndeje 52-49. It's going to be a long, long season for Warriors fans, and I know there are some of the majority in this country. Most of those who watch basketball, Warriors fans, or either Warriors or Power. It's going to be a very, very long season. From what they've done so far, that team has many holes. Has more holes than
but
substance.
Now, at the start, can't they try to figure things out and say, okay, now this is where we went wrong. Let's try and improve it for the future.
I think one of the things they're struggling with is their backcourt. They're really trying to get Ivan Enabu returned from Power, and that's because he had left Warriors and gone to Power. But for financial reasons, Power are insisting they have to pay some money before they get him back. And next month, which is June, they should get Marco Pio returned to the side. He's been studying in India. That should help the team quite a bit. But for now, I see more holes than solid substance.
Well, moving on to beach volleyball. 2 Ugandan teams qualified for the Under-19 World Championships in Portugal. Isn't that some good news for Ugandan sport? Very, very good news, especially knowing that before they could even go and serve any ball in the sand on Friday, one of the teams had qualified. That's a girls team of Jacqueline Kwikiriza and Faith Magole, because there were only 3 slots for this region and the other teams hadn't shown up. It was just between them and Namibia, eventually losing in the final, but that was sufficient for them to go on and qualify for the World Cup. And I know these girls had only started playing beach volleyball for about 2 months. And then really? Is it that simple? So I can also go and maybe qualify for...
You could have, but not now, because the qualifiers are done, and this Under-19 Mebo, you wouldn't get into the age category.
Okay.
But the boys too qualified. Faith Cuthbert Baguma, one of them there, and then Elias Isiaji, the 2 boys there that will be going to Portugal. Big opportunity for them. I don't think the Uganda Volleyball Federation, the beach volleyball, have done enough for the lower level beach volleyball version. They've done a lot at the top. I know Ugandans came very close to qualifying for the Olympics back in 2012. They even played the qualifying tournament in London. I've seen them compete in several beach volleyball tournaments, but they haven't done a lot at under-19 level. This is a big opportunity for these 4 children. I would love to call them going to the World Cup.
It's an interesting game to watch.
Yeah.
I love their outfits. A bit too skimpy for me sometimes, for my liking.
But my sports editor at Monitor once told me that the best way to get a story into the newspaper is beach volleyball. And I know what that meant.
Well, another story that many guys like, Mercedes, they have been doing very well. Tell us what happened in Monaco. Brian was telling us, Brian took Monaco, one of the richest countries in the world, probably one of the richest countries, small, and he's talking about the pitch and the race, what do you call it? The
street circuit?
The street circuit.
Which is run just close to a river. You actually stand on your yacht and watch the race. Most of the people there. People fly to Monaco for the weekend and they watch the race from their yacht. It's got to be the kind of season where we will all give up at some point and know Mercedes will win, because this was decided for me on Saturday during qualifying. The moment Nico Rosberg got to start on pole ahead of Lewis Hamilton, that was it. And thereafter, it's been an atrocious weekend because the conflict between Lewis Hamilton and his teammate Nico Rosberg is going out of the roof now. Because
when you say conflict, is it like it's not necessarily on the circuit?
It's on the track.
Oh, okay.
Because on Saturday during qualifying, Nico Rosberg did block Lewis Hamilton during qualifying because he knew that when you start on pole in Monaco, that's the best chance of it, because it's a narrow street circuit with very sharp bends and not too many straights. So the chances of anyone winning when you're not being on pole are non-existent. Nico Rosberg winning, Hamilton in second, Daniel Ricciardo in third. Inevitably, it had to be a Mercedes. Now, for a change, it isn't a Hamilton, because Hamilton had won 4 in a row.
Yes.
Now it's Nico Rosberg for only the second time and only his 5th victory in Formula 1. But it's the kind of race where I think by the time Saturday is done and qualifying is done, you could actually go and sleep and wake up on Monday and wait to hear that the person who was on pole won this from lights to flag, and that was Nico Rosberg this weekend.
So you think he did a wrong thing by blocking Hamilton at the start?
The stewards did investigate this on Saturday in the aftermath of qualifying, and they ruled that he did nothing wrong. But I thought it was as intentional as they come. I thought it was wrong, but I'm not a moralist in sport, because I don't think sport is there to teach morals. Sport is there to win. Do everything you can to win.
You know, but you bring an interesting topic. I know many times footballers, especially in Europe, get castigated when they live a bad life, because they say you are role models for our children. So if you are saying sport is sport and they shouldn't teach morals...
He was doing everything to win. He wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, but if you do something to win and you hurt someone in the end...
To be honest, I'm not a moralist. I don't even get the debate.
Okay, very quickly before we go on to football, tell us about the NBA playoffs.
The NBA playoffs, we are done with Game 3 in both the Eastern and Western Conference, and the teams that are leading are the ones you expect to win. Miami Heat, coming from a game down to lead now their series by 2-1. LeBron James winning them the third one. They are scoring 26 points to get the Miami Heat into the lead. Remember, they had lost game 1 to the Indiana Pacers and winning the third game 99-87. A game where they had to come from as low as 15 points down to win that one. And then the Western Conference Finals, the San Antonio Spurs are in the lead. But this time, OKC have trimmed that to just the 1 game, because they were 2 games down. But the return of Serge Ibaka this morning spurred the Oklahoma City Thunder into life as a beat up on the San Antonio Spurs, 106-97. Serge Ibaka scoring 15, 7 rebounds and 4 blocks to get OKC their first victory in the Western Conference Finals. So this continues later tonight. You can call me Mebo. I'll be awake at 3:30 a.m. because it's Game 4 between the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers. That starts at 3:30 a.m. on television. And be sure, when you call me,
you answer.
Yeah.
Tebanjide acid. Anyway, now La Decima. You know, I happened to watch this game, and I must admit my heart was broken. We all know that Real Madrid took the UEFA Champions League on Saturday, and but tell us, how did they pull it off?
I think it's a lesson in patience. For a very long time, Madrid were probably not playing as well as I know they can. And then they conceded that goal to Diego Godin with that mistake from Iker Casillas. And at that point in time, I think if you're faint-hearted, you give up on the result if you're Real Madrid, especially that they had to get their equalizer in the 3rd minute of added time.
It was 93rd minute?
Yeah.
I thought the game was over.
It's never over until the whistle is blown, because of 5 minutes added onto that. But eventually, I thought that Atletico would be kicking themselves about the performance. I don't think they played well in that final. Atletico have been 10 times a better team than one they showed in the final. And for 45 minutes, there was nothing to choose between the two sides. But I thought from halftime till the end of the game, Madrid were by far the better side. When Kalanchet went for those substitutions and brought in Marcelo and then brought in Isco, they were beat on the front foot more than they had previously.
Atletico are
they are quite something, and they are not an easy team to beat, and you've got to give it to them. But they have an atrocious record against Real Madrid. They've only won 2 games of the last 34. So whatever they've achieved this season, and they won the league, and they could have won a league and European double, there are so many things that probably worked against them. Eventually conceding that equalizer to Sergio Ramos, and then Gareth Bale putting Real Madrid ahead in it.
I was so happy for Gareth Bale, much as I was not supporting Real Madrid, but you know, England's my team. So Gareth Bale.
And he's Welsh, he's not English.
Okay, he's from Europe, he's from UK, Great Britain.
And but you're going to have a very tough World Cup, I promised you. England won't do anything. I can almost promise you that. But eventually, Real Madrid getting the La Decima.
So the president is happy. Apparently, he has been since, is it 92 or 2002?
2002.
Yeah, when they last won the Champions League. And Ronaldo being given the opportunity to take that penalty. Do you think that was significant?
It's significant in terms of him setting the record for the most goals in the UEFA Champions League season, because those are 17 in all. Probably at the time it wasn't the most important goal of the game. I've scored a goal. I've scored a goal that was the 7th when we're leading a game by 6 goals to 1. But mine was very important for selfish reasons. I wanted to score. Now, Ronaldo probably, for the kind of record that he wanted to set, that was to him. But I think to Real Madrid, at the time they had won the game, Atletico had probably given up on it.
Yeah, in the last half, I mean in extra time, by the time they scored that goal, where was everyone?
They were tired. I thought they were tired.
One goal after the other.
Yeah, the team that plays with about 14 or 15 players, I think at that point in time, they were just tired. They just didn't have anything going for them. But congratulations, I thought Real Madrid, 12 years of heart, 4 semi-final appearances in 4 years before they go to this final.
Yeah,
it had to be Real Madrid.
But if Atletico had taken it, they would have broken, I guess, a greater record.
They play one Champions League final every 40 years, Atletico. So how do they win this?
Okay, but still in football, moving on to Chelsea. Why did they sell this guy, David Luiz?
Mourinho doesn't like his style because he thinks he lacks a bit of discipline. But Chelsea should be pleased with the kind of money they are getting for selling David Luiz to PSG. It's £40 million.
What will they do with it? Whom will they buy?
I think they'll try and buy Diego Costa from Atletico Madrid because they need a striker up front. But I don't see winners in this except David Luiz. I don't think he's worth his money, but it doesn't decide the market price. I don't think PSG are going to get anything from him because that's not probably the area they are lacking. They're not lacking defensively. And I don't think they're signing the best defender in the world for all that money. For whatever David Luiz can do, 40 million, buy Sanogo.
Well, that's all we had for you here on Morning at NTV. Remember, you can catch Isma at 1:30 p.m. with Omumuli. And later on, we have Sports Bar with the sports crew, including Brian Tuka. Let's now take a look at our African proverb. I just love these African proverbs. I really love them. They make you think. Do not scare the birds you are about to shoot.
You know, in rice-growing areas, children sometimes don't go to the UPE schools because their parents have sent them out to go and chase away weaver birds from eating the rice. And they go with that, whatever
catapult.
The catapult. I know it in my language. My apologies, I only know it in Lusoga. But if you see those kids when they are going to shoot those birds,
what is it called in Lusoga?
No, they are tiptoeing to get to the birds, and they get as close before they shoot. They don't just. It's quite a proverb probably, but probably it's a bit having a clandestine approach to things. You know, if you met Mabel here for the men the first time and you tell her, I want you to have twins for me, she'll definitely say no.
So that's scaring me away. How do you know? What if I want twins?
You have to act in an extremely clandestine approach. Buy her lunch, appear like you're not even in that direction. But then eventually, you get to shoot the bird.
Someone is disagreeing behind here, saying no. No, but I guess you warm yourself to someone. Yeah. But we're talking about birds here, aren't we? Do not scare the birds you're about to shoot. Anyway, whatever it is you aim at, I guess you approach. Earlier we were talking about customer service, and he made a point by saying even employees are customers as well. If you own the business, you know you need to treat your employees well, even better than the customers.
That's supposed to be a message for landlords. The tenants are customers.
Tenants are customers. Well, that is all we have for you here on Morning at NTV. Great programming continues with Soul Moment. We do wish Brian a quick recovery, and as he likes to say, hasta la vista, baby.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
NTV, turning on your world.
In this part of Uganda, many children still wonder about tomorrow.
Oh my God, sorry. He was going to eat soap. Did you see that?
The rivers do no good.
He's dead? Around this area, in this